Hi guys, Maikeru here. I'm back again with another rant style video, and this time is about the Yak Track. The Yak Track was once a lovely, completely optional, easy battle pass like system that rewarded cosmetics for the majority and then some very small rewards of MTX items. I personally really enjoyed it on release, but now it's tainted by huge FOMO aspects, huge MTX bonuses, and cosmetics are now just a side product instead of the original focus that it was supposed to be. I'm going to be breaking down how the Yak Track became more and more damaging, disingenuous, and aggressive in its microtransactions and fear of missing out tactics instead of just being some fun, additional, harmless cosmetic rewards. So sit back, relax. Oh, wrong channel. Looking back at my first ever video made about the Yak Track 3 years ago, the track had a massive focus on cosmetics, and then the other rewards alongside it were things like small cash bags, Silverhawk feathers, springs, and the occasional other reward like a small or medium star or a lamp, and maybe the occasional protean. But they were never the focus. There was not much on those actual items, it was all on those cosmetics. And those cosmetics were also absolutely amazing. It introduced a bunch of really cool teleport animations. Normally they were only really on Solomon's store, and this brought them into the game in other ways, which was really nice. Me, myself, I actually really enjoyed these teleport animations and rest animations, skilling animations, stuff like that. They were great. And then the track itself didn't even take that crazy long, especially because even task 49, as you can see on screen, was just craft 430 death runes or above. So even one of the latest tasks on the track wasn't actually very difficult, and it would take like 2 abyss trips to get done. And then nowadays, that's 5 hours of skill and kill to progress task 49. Even the skilling portion has gotten way more difficult as well, even if you're not doing skill and kill. Which then brings me on to my next point, which is skill and kill tasks in general. Ultimately, the idea was to have people be able to do some tasks on the track with skill and kill, which obviously took longer, but enabled anything in the game to be done to progress it. There was always a choice between 2 tasks, and people would pick the faster one or the slower one, if they wanted to do something specific instead. This was about 10% of the Yak Track tasks on release, with skill and kill and another option. All of the others were 2 skilling options, which was great. But now, every single Yak task is just one specific skill or skill and kill. So if you don't want to do that specific skill, you are forced to do skill and kill, which takes a long time. This also leads into the issue of some people not even engaging in the Yak Track at all, but fully completing it by just doing skill and kill and just playing the game, which I think was probably their goal. But at that same time, it's also a bad thing, because they made all of the MTX items given from it power crepts, treasure hunter items, and they come into the game way more now from people not even actually engaging in the content. They're just getting free stuff. They even added stuff like knowledge bombs and really large like protean packs and stuff, and then that, causes issues on itself. Also, with the old Yak Tracks, you could complete the Yak Track 1 day before the end of the whole event, and then you would get the same cosmetics as someone who completed it on day 1. Everyone got an even amount of cosmetics and items, and it was pretty fair. Nowadays, that certainly is not the case, and it is not fair. Jagex have added so many FOMO aspects to the Yak Track that makes completing it as soon as possible way more beneficial than completing it just right at the end. Now people who complete it literally day 1 and bond all the way through have a huge advantage over the others with less time to play, or like to go slower with skill and kill and just get it done at their own pace. The first fear of missing out feature that I want to touch on is Yak Coins and Yak Sacks. The coins and sacks are obtained very infrequently from actually completing the 1 to 50 tasks. Once the whole track is complete, they give a repeatable 51st track that takes 3 hours of skill and kill to complete, and it gives you a guaranteed coin or sack. You might be thinking, yeah, why is that bad? It just continues giving you rewards after you completed the track. Well, the reason why it's pretty bad, the sacks in particular, it causes people who have far more time to abuse the system and gain so many benefits over the course of that track in terms of reward, and not to mention some of those rewards are limited time cosmetics that are only obtainable through getting big RNG on those sacks. Then that makes people want to get as many as they can to either get that cosmetic to wear, because now the cosmetics aren't guaranteed on the yak track like they used to be, or they want to get it for GP to sell it on the GE for someone who wants it that can't get it from actually just doing the yak track organically. Not to mention, it can also be bonded with skips, so you can just continuously skip and gamble your way to these items by spending real life money, which is pretty predatory as well. It's very similar to the treasure hunter at that point. The yak coins, on the other hand, should be a good thing, allowing you to get old cosmetics you missed from the track, and I do believe these coins are very good. They have a good fundamental basis of why they were added, but Jagex added new cosmetics only obtainable from the yak coin shop, and that is very stupid. You don't ever get enough coins for those new cosmetics just from completing the track, making you grind past level 50 just so you can get those yak track cosmetics from the store as well as the tracks, which is just annoying. You should just be done when you get level 50, but no, you have to do another 20 lots of task 51 just to get a, skill animation or ability override, which is actually pretty nice looking and a lot of people want, so it makes them keep engaging with that content. Or again, it could make you spend money to skip it and get the content done that way. But again, at least the coins do have the good trade-off of allowing you to get older animations compared to the sacks, where the sacks are just all downright bad in my opinion. And secondly, the FOMO feature that I really want to speak about that is far worse, and you probably guessed it, is that 20% XP buff slapped on the end of the yak track. I even made a video showcasing this 1 year ago, stating specifically about that 20% XP buff being very bad, and it's going to be added to every future event, and it causes big FOMO, and it was a huge issue. Yeah, that's definitely come true throughout the last year, and it's just been slapped on every single yak track. Now what happens is people speed through day 1 of the yak track with bonds, whether they buy those bonds with in-game or IRL GP, doesn't really matter, it's still MTX in the yak track for their advantage for not cosmetic gain. This is what I want to make clear. The cosmetics is what the yak track was based around, but now people only complete it as quickly as possible for XP, which is bad. Especially when they complete it on day 1, they get 6 weeks or so of full 20% XP buff, unlimited, depending on how much they play. And again, if you're a casual player and you finish the yak 1 day before it's gone, you don't even get use out of the full 20% XP buff. So why would you really take your time, play at your own pace? You're going to be manipulated and definitely not, doing the actual spirit of the yak track and completing it as quickly as humanly possible for the other benefits it provides. 20% XP boost doesn't sound too crazy, right? We have 4 double XPs in a year, XP doesn't mean as much anymore, and I know some people don't care about XP, but it's still an issue for those who do. Let's do some real quick math of what it causes. Say playing just 2 hours a day with the 20% XP buff for 6 weeks, that's the equivalent of nearly 17 hours of double XP over the course of the track. Not to mention all of the knowledge bombs and stuff that give extra XP, that's additional stuff. Let's face it though, I would say the typical RS player probably plays more than 2 hours a day, even if it's AFK and on mobile or something while doing something else. They're still, engaging in the game, getting XP or whatever. So if we go up and we say you're playing for 5 hours a day with that buff, it becomes equivalent of 42 hours of double XP. That's practically getting 8 double XPs a year now with the 4 yak tracks and the 4 double XPs, which is absolutely absurd. And then if you're a hardcore player playing 10 hours a day, well, you're technically getting 12 double XPs in a year in terms of how much XP it gives you. And like I said, I know XP isn't everything for everyone, and a lot of players don't care about it, but this is still very saddening, as the yak track was just, meant for that cosmetic and not XP, and now that is the big focus and the big reason why people buy into it. And in addition to this, the cosmetics have just got worse. Over the course of the yak tracks, the cosmetics are just becoming copy and pasted outfits and pets with different recolors, and that's about it. There was a lot of yak tracks, especially at the start, that had so many unique different outfits at different stages instead of just copy pasting it. Not to mention those animations, which some yak tracks didn't even include a teleport animation or anything, and they just seemed more rushed. I was going to end the video here, but considering Jagex extended their most recent yak track, I decided to extend this video and continue talking about it. With this extended yak track, that's the one that's currently going on in-game. It was given 70 tasks at the start, making it cost even more to skip it all at the start for that 20% XP boost too. And obviously they didn't give the XP boost at task 50, they moved it up in the task list. And they've extended it twice. They extended it in general because it had 70 tasks, and then they extended it by an additional month on top of that because apparently people were asking for it to be extended, but nobody asked. This gives people even more XP over the course of this specific yak track. It is 104 days instead of your typical 45-50 days, so it's over double as long. That means this yak track alone has provided twice as much of an XP boost as the others if you got it done on day one. And now with that being considered, what's to say all of the yak track from now on are just going to be 70 tasks longer, even more of an XP boost, alongside all of the extra, actual items you're getting from 20 additional tasks, more knowledge bombs, more OP, huge proteins and huge lamps instead of just the mediums before. And then on top of the 70 tasks, of course, there's a 71st task that you repeat constantly for yak coins so you don't miss all of the cosmetics. It's crazy how far they're going and how much they're ramping it up, especially with this most recent one. And better yet, what if, right? And I hope Jagex never do this, but the next yak track could have another yak sack at task 71, right? Because, they're putting coins and stuff there. We can add another sack. But let's just say this time, it's got a very rare chance to give you an inverted 120 cape instead of the previous shoulder capes that they gave from those sacks. They would be re-releasing these capes back into the game in the worst way possible to drive people to skip the track, then buy even more skips afterwards with bonds or real-life money to spam gambling for these 120 capes. Whether it be because they want the 120 cape, whether they want GP, or they're just addicted to the gambling nature of Treasure Hunter and this is another way for them to do it. It doesn't matter their reasoning, it is very, very scummy for these things to even exist and these possibilities to exist. There's nothing stopping Jagex doing this, as they said, and I quote, "The inverted skill capes will not be re-released on the Treasure Hunter." That doesn't cover all MTX forms. They don't class Yak Track as the Treasure Hunter, right? So it could well be added in a sack. I really hope that isn't the case, and my ideal world for the re-release of the 120 capes would be something like when you're 120, you get shards, you get them from skilling and doing that skill post 120. When you get 10 shards, you make it together for a cape. You can make the cape one time, you can then even trade it or use it. And I think that would be fine, right? It's like skilling bets, but a bit rarer, and it would keep the value of the annoying skills high, and I think that's the perfect way to do it. But Jagex might not share that vision. But I digress. I've done a lot of rambling in this video, but it really does put it into perspective that any MTX, even the ones we love on release, I personally loved the Yak Track on release and all of the cosmetics that were given with it, can turn so sour over the course of just a few years and become more and more predatory and aggressive to force players into interacting with it and buying into it. I truly hope Jagex can change the Yak Track and tone down the XP rewards and cut away the stupid 20% XP buff slapped onto literally every single one for FOMO, and just make it that actual decent MTX content that it was on release that focused on cosmetics. It was actually MTX that I agreed with, and now it's MTX that is even more annoying to me sometimes than the Treasure Hunter itself. But obviously, let's face it, it's probably not going to happen, and the next track's probably going to be 90 tasks with a 30% XP boost lasting 125 days, and people are going to get loads of XP and loads of rewards. But I'm clinging on to just a little bit of hope that I have left that the Yak Track can actually be saved and brought back into something that I know and love and actually enjoyed on release, because it's so far from that, it's unreal. And either way, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you've made it this far, you're an absolute legend. Please do give the video a like if you did enjoy the rants, and I'll be continuing to make these videos because people seem to enjoy them, and I enjoy making them. I just get to moan about stuff, and I love it. I'll also be making some rants that are more positive in the future as well. It won't always be negative. And if you have any input in the discussion, feel free to comment it down below. I loved reading and replying to a ton of these on the previous rant about proteins. It's cool to see everyone's views and takes and stuff and just chat to people. So thank you for that. And as always, until next time, see ya.